Hi again YouTube. So today I have a little tutorial type thing of how I make my doll dress forms or mannequins. I usually start off with a naked full body frontal picture of the doll, but in this case I couldn't find a picture including the head, so I took an accompanying picture of the body of the full size. I cropped the picture up to the top of the head and the bottom of the heel, and then I simply, scale the image up the size of the doll, and in this case I scaled the image up and then scaled the image up, the second image up, to match with the measurements of the full scale image. Anyway, in the picture on the screen is a Doll Chateau Zora. So after scaling them up to the life size, I print them out. So after that I cut them out and I collect my materials, newspaper or magazine paper or any type of scrap paper, corrugated cardboard, pencil, anti-cutter or craft knife, scissors, masking tape, measuring tape and a wooden skewer, and also craft glue and a water and glue mixture, measurements, and remember to check your life size printout with the measurements, references and paint. The water and glue mixture is for paper mache, which isn't a necessary step, but it will improve the quality of your dress form. So my first step, I put my printed out picture, in this case a Minifee Moe-line picture, on the cardboard and trace around the edges. Yeah, you can see I'm marking where I'm going to cut the shoulders. Now, for dress forms, it's not necessary to add the arms, but since a lot of people make tight-fitting clothes for minifees, I thought it'd be better to include the arms in my dress form. So after I've traced the outline, I start cutting the cardboard. And a thing to remember, it's a lot easier if the corrugated cardboard has the openings, or the whatever it's called, horizontal, and so that you can add the wooden skewer in at the shoulders later without too much difficulty. Skipping, almost done. For smaller places, it's better to use a craft knife, but not necessary. Okay. So if I overlap the images, then hopefully they should align properly. So here I'm pushing the wooden skewer through the shoulders. Now, since I'm going to add arms, I want to make the shoulders posable. otherwise it's going to be a pain in the butt to fix. And after that I add some cardboard scraps to the main body of our mannequin, just to thicken it up. But remember, always keep your measurements in mind. In this type of project, it's better to make the measurements a bit smaller instead of larger, so that if there's a problem you can always add more, rather than having to try and figure out how to remove whatever is extra. Especially if you're going to be using paper mache like I did. Generally I add the extra pieces of cardboard more or less in the same shape as the body, but it's not completely necessary. But still, if you want to have a more accurate shape, it's better to constantly use reference and check how you're doing. So after trimming the edges and cutting our skewer and cutting the shoulders so that they can move, I start wrapping up my newspaper or scrap paper or magazine paper and use masking tape to put it on the dress form. Now, you don't have to use masking tape, but it's definitely more convenient to use masking tape since it's easy to tear, easy to paint, easy to mark on it, and so on. More or less the dress forms I used another different type of tape with ended up not going so well. Usually when I start the bulking up process, I start with the waist, and since the torso is the biggest part and the waist is the smallest part, generally when you finish the waist you can more or less figure out how much to add everywhere else. Just for the convenience, something I didn't know before I started this project is that newspaper can be torn into long strips from one side but can't be torn the same way from the other side. Which is pretty convenient when doing paper mache type crafts. Now, any type of scrap paper can be used in the current step, but later, if you're going to do the paper mache step, it's better to use something a bit more porous, mainly so that the glue or the watered down glue will be able to be absorbed into the paper a lot more easily. So just so you know, it's The references are really important for this type of project, especially if you want the correct shape of the body. On screen you can see a piece of paper with some references and some measurements, but some of the pictures there is not for this current doll. I was making a dress form for that doll as well, so you'll see a bit of it throughout the video. But since minifees are quite popular, I decided to make the video based on the minifee. In retrospect, I should have probably used the Eidolon Minifee rather than an M-line and used the smallest bust and made add-ons for larger busts. But it seems I'll have to do that in the future. Simply put, the add-ons are made with adding a piece of clear plastic, and cling wrap or whatever, covering that in a layer of masking tape and bulking it up the same way as I'm doing with the paper, with the scrap paper right now. And then, well, that's that. On screen you can see I've skipped a bit of footage and pretty much made the whole body, and now I'm adding the breasts. Just another note, the shoulders and breasts are quite difficult to do right and needs a bit more attention. And now we're at the paper mache stage. Like I said before, you have rather to have your measurements a few millimeters short of what it needs to be, because during the paper mache step you're going to end up bulking up the dress form and end up with measurements a tad larger than you had when it's just the masking tape. Of course, you can also stop at the masking tape stage, but generally the dress form wouldn't last very long during that stage, because the masking tape starts to peel and it's not a lasting measure. So the paper mache is a step to, first off, smooth out all of the raw edges, as well as, well, making your dress form a lot more sturdy and durable. Over here you can see me turning around the dress form. On another note, adding the steps horizontally makes more bulk than adding them vertically. But adding them horizontally is a lot more sturdier and stable than adding them vertically, especially on the arms, where we have a smaller surface area for the glue to cling to. Now, during the masking tape stage, I made a mistake and took my wooden skewer out, which will result in me having a few troubles later. So just to let you know, don't take the wooden skewer out. Keep it in. It's mainly that when I took it out, I forgot where the hole for the skewer is supposed to go, and my shoulders ended up a bit wonky, or not even, or not exactly where they're supposed to be because of that. So after, you can see here, after I finished up with my paper mache, I cut the shoulders off again, trimmed the edges, and put the skewer back. As you can see, just like I was saying just now, I'm having a bit of trouble finding where the arms are supposed to go. I add a bit of glue to the skewer edges, put the arms back on, and use an elastic to hold them in place until the glue is dry. So after that, I go with paint. And this step is also not necessary, but it definitely makes your dress form look a lot better. So I start off with a few coats of white and then later go on to another color. The paint I was using is super cheap watered down paint, so I had to use like 6 coats of white before I got something consistent. Just mentioning again, because I forgot to take in account the thickness of the paper mache, my waist and hip measurements ended up being a tad off, and afterwards I could go sand the dress form to make it better. And since the paper mache can easily be sanded, that was fine, but not all dolls can do that. So the paint color I used after the white was just a random in the bottle skin tone type color. And then we're pretty much done. Thanks for watching. And here we have an extra little video to show you a bit more of the dress forms or mannequins I've made. So this is the first one I've ever made, and you can see it doesn't look very good, and because of reasons it's very bulky and not easy to use, and I've been constantly trying to add different kinds of tape to it to try and fix it in some way or another to make it easier to use, but it hasn't worked. But sometimes for my dress forms I make the smallest size bust and waist and hips of a doll, and then I can make one of these for a temporary to enlarge the bust or waist or hips temporarily. Okay. This specific one was this dress form was made for a Loongsoul quarter scale body with a small bust. It should be the older type body that's now discontinued, and the enlargement or enhancement or whatever you want to call it was made with the measurements of a Mystic Kids girl. the body here. It's a bit taller, but not much. So the second dress form I made is not here, just gifted to somebody. And that was made for a Souldoll NL girl body with a large bust for my sister. Then this one, made for a Souldoll NL boy body. And it's honestly still really messy. And I used a minimal amount of newspaper and a lot of cardboard, so it's very stiff and square. But unfortunately I printed my picture at the start way too big, so it's not that an accurate one. But anyway, next is this one, which was made for her Doris Doll, and I didn't intend to make a full scale, a full dress form, but it ended up being a bit wonky in a lot of places and ended up as a bit of a mess. So don't try to, if you want to make a small one, make a small one. Don't try to half-ass it, because this one is actually ready to be thrown away. You can see instead of masking tape I used packing tape. You could use other tapes, but masking tape is definitely the easiest and most user-friendly. Okay. So then these four are my newest four. 3 of them I made last year, October, and this is my newest one. So from here you can see how I match up the outline with the shape of the body of the printed out picture. And you can also see I made these thighs a little thick, and because I was trying to save on tape and I didn't have much masking tape left, I used packing tape again, and now I can sand it down. Now to remember one thing, the paper mache is going to make your dress form thicker. I didn't take that into account when making this one, and ended up making clothes for someone with this one, which ended up being a bit too big, which I only realized afterwards. And so I went and modified this form again by sanding down a lot of places. Luckily, the person I made it for didn't seem to find any issue with it, but it's definitely bothering me. Anyway, you can see some places are a bit messy from being sanded again. This one is for Doll Chateau Zora. this one I cut the arms just after the paper mache was done. And for this one, since it's a doll whose hands isn't removable, I made these rounded stumps, which has the circumference of the widest part of the hand, so that if I made shirts or stuff, you will be able to get it over the hands. Somebody originally wanted me to commission me for the doll, but they ended up changing their mind. So I've yet to make anything for this form. Next is my Minifee Moe-line dress form. But whether it's Moe-line or A-line, it doesn't matter, because this is a picture of the Moe-line body, and this is a picture of the A-line body, and overlapping them, you can see that their difference is only very much in the legs. So the only difference is a bust size and pant size. The Moe-line body comes with two types of larger busts, but they are interchangeable with the A-line body's busts. And their feet are smaller. So this one specifically is for the second largest bust size. And this is the dress form whose recording I did. Because I cut the shoulders at an earlier stage, it ended up a bit wonky because I couldn't find the holes to stick the skewer through. Sometime down the line I'll make another Minifee body with the smallest bust size, and then hopefully I'll be able to make clothes for all types of Minifees at that point. It shouldn't be a problem in essence, because the Loongsoul body has the same bust size as the second smallest Minifee bust size, the same waist and hip size, just a little bit longer torso. Now finally my newest body, a Dollfie Dream Sister. And according to the measurements for all the dolls, I can use this dress form for the Dollfie Dream Sister, normal Dollfie Dream, Smart Doll, and Fairyland People 60 if I make an additive piece. Maybe not even necessarily, because it's just 1 or 2 centimeters difference. And this is my biggest dress form to date. Okay, so that's all. Thanks for watching and staying with me through all this mess. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye.